My father couldn't get a pump yet on his calf feeder. My father loved it.
Okay.
You could see the biggest thing he said he could see was the shine in the calves.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing.
So I'm on my travels. I'm here in Sligo, and I spent the last hour and a half walking around with this man, Christopher Tuffy. How are you getting on?
How are you, Tommy? Delighted to have you here.
Good. We had a great discussion. Look, I have met you a good few times at this stage, and I kind of know you, but I think, again, every time you meet you, there's something new to your story here on the dairy farm. You're Farmer of the Year 2022. You've got a title and everything, you know, and you should be very proud of that. But can you tell people, I suppose, what part of the world we're in, and a little bit about the farm here?
Yeah, so we're here in North County Sligo in Dunalley. We're only about 5 minutes here from Sligo town. So originally I'm from Inniscrone, which is in West Sligo. So I grew up at a 60 cow dairy farm, split calving, but very fragmented farm, very efficient farm. But I suppose I came home from college in 2011. My father was cruising into retirement. He was going to have a nice handy retirement for himself. And I decided I wanted to go milking cows too. So it wasn't big enough for the two of us. So we were lucky enough in 2011. This place came up for lease. There was a shed we could put cubicles into. We built the milking parlour and we reseeded it. And we started off, took the cows from home, and we started milking here in 2012. And we built it up now. We took the dad's cows. He had 60, and we were buying a good few cows. And we started milking in 2012, and in 2015 we got up to 150 cows, and we've been in around 145 to 155 the last few years since. So yeah, we're a good few years into the lease, but still going strong.
It's not the first time you told that story, Christopher. You're able to roll it off your tongue very well. In that story, and I heard it out the field there, we were out looking at the cows, we're walking around, it's what time is it? It's October and it's wet out there, isn't it? You were telling me kind of the ups and downs of, you've got great production now, you've got a very consistent group of cows, you've refined a lot of things. But what I was very clear was, it hasn't been an easy road to get to there.
No, definitely not. I suppose the biggest thing, the first few years, the first biggest issue I faced when I came here was I wasn't used to heavy ground. Okay. Never managed. The home farm is a dry farm. It's a pity it's so small, but it's a very dry farm of land. And even I done my college placement in New Zealand and different places and been on other farms. I never got exposed to managing heavy ground when I was younger. Yeah. And I suppose the biggest thing is I struggled with, I came in here at 21, probably naive and arrogant. And maybe it was a little bit, it takes a few years and you don't have an experience. At 21, you think you know it all, and you know very, very little at 21. Yeah. No matter what you learn in college.
I thought when you started saying F all, but like we've all been there.
Absolutely. Just you're so naive and you don't realise it. And the best experience you can ever get is life and dealing with problem situations. And I suppose I was lucky. I suppose I learned an awful lot from running this place. And I suppose the biggest thing is, the biggest lesson we had was production was low for the first few years. Probably didn't hit the ground with enough cows. As I said, took us about 3 years to hit peak numbers. But an awful lot of heifers in 2015. And they didn't get going right until maybe during third lactation, 2017, 2018. And as I said to you out in the field, everyone else was having a hard year with drought in 2018. And this farm just really took off from there on. Other things to do with soil fertility was poor the first few years. And with soil, I think
what you struck me as well is you got money to invest in the farm, and you can only get so much money to do so much.
Yes.
You had to be kind of very specific. You've transformed the grazing platform here from what it was to what it is.
Yes.
Milking parlours, housing. I mean, it's lovely to be. It's not green. Like, you don't have endless amounts of money, so you were smart enough, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'd often
to give you some credit.
I give my father a good bit of credit too, because I always think, we always say people always say we're very brave to come in and do this. But I say as my father was more brave than I was, because I was 21, 20 at the time. It was nearly I wouldn't say it was a bit of crack, but it was nearly an adventure at the time. I was so excited about it. And when you're that age and you're facing an opportunity, you don't see the negatives. When my father was more pragmatic, but we came in, I suppose it was the height of the financial crisis at the time, and we did struggle to get money. And to be fair, we got enough, 200,000 at the time to get us up and running, plus a bit of cash flow, and just enough to get your foot in the door and get milk flowing. And that was the most important thing. We done half the parlour, done half the cubicle shed, and then as we expanded, we finished the parlour, and I think we done the cubicles in 2 more stages. So that's kind of the way it worked. As the cows came on, we finished the shed, and the biggest thing too, we're very lucky on this farm is there's enough slurry storage.
Okay.
That was a massive thing. We didn't have to invest in any slurry storage when we came here. And this shed that we're standing in for calves we spent very little money to get this ready, and it's a good airy shed. It was designed for calves in the 80s, and the shed next door, which we looked at a few minutes ago, for calf and the cows. So we had to invest very little money in them too. So really, the big investment in the land, receipting, and building the milking parlour.
And what struck me as well is you've obviously won Farmer of the Year last year, which is a huge honour. Like, you've brought the farm so far. But one thing that's always struck me is your attitude. You're a very positive person. You're very open and honest as well, which is very, I suppose I find that very endearing in someone that they tell you the good and the bad. Yeah,
well, look, I suppose you always have to be positive. Like, if you're negative, you'll only get yourself down. And you always have to, no matter how bad things are going, there's always someone who has it worse. That's the way I always look at it. And then again, I always get great energy too. We've young lads working here, relief milkers, and lads come in doing casual work, and you have to be positive and you have to show, they give you great energy and great help. And we have a good team here of lads around us too, and I think that's very important. You have to have, you have to have a good work-life balance too. And we have a small child, and there's a lot of other stuff going on, and that gives you, maybe a more perspective on things too, a better perspective. And if you're having a bad day, you can always step away, maybe out from calving season, but you'll always have a bit of an outlet too, which gets your head away from it, and you'll come back fresher to it the next day. And I think when you have good help on the farm, if you have a problem here, you can solve it, you can step back from it, and we've one lad here too, in particular, Kevin, and he does a lot of relief milking, and I find if there's two of us here, he done 2 springs in a row, and I always found if there was a problem, there was 2 of us to solve it. Okay. I think that's a big thing too, is that if you're rushing and racing and you have an issue, the problem only gets worse.
You did mention that when we were walking around, we were talking about, like, Jesus, you can list the challenges for farming all day long, but people is a huge thing, and people's skills, and you mentioned the word team, and a lot of people use the word team because it's the buzzword at the time, but when you say it, and you said it to me off the camera, you mean it. Team is very important, isn't it?
As I said to you, there was one morning here last spring, I had the Iman in, the vet, the relief milker, the contractor, and worst of all, I have to deal with Emer at home, so that takes skill in itself, like every man, I tell you. But
you're just getting everyone in trouble here.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving that in with it.
But people skills is so important, and no matter what happens, you have to, people make mistakes, and nobody makes more mistakes on here than me. That's the one thing I always say. And no matter what happens, you have to bring everyone with you, because if you don't, you'll be on your own. That's the one thing I do.
Do you think you're natural leadership, or have you worked on it?
I've worked on it, but I think it comes, maybe it's like anything. Like when I first came here, I was kind of trying to do it all myself, and it was myself and Dad. But as lads come in, you learn, and I've been very lucky with the lads I've got. I've got lads who come in as students and have stayed on and worked with us. We've another lad from up the road. He's done a lot of work now, maybe not as much last year. Keelan, another great young fella from Strandhill too. There, Colum has come in. Has done a lot of work with us.
Are they from a farming background?
They're all from farming backgrounds. Okay. They're all really smart lads too, and it makes an awful difference that you're not hand-holding. Okay. So I think a lot of what we have is more so that we've had good guys come into us that don't need, that can think on their feet. And we've another young lad from up the road. He's actually not from a farming background, and he's in Leaving Cert, and he's a super young lad. He's very enthusiastic, and hopefully we'll be able to hold on to him for the next few years.
Good.
Because we show them what to do, and we don't handhold. That's the biggest thing. We're very relaxed enough about it.
Good. Long may it last. I came here to talk to you about calf health and how you get on with precision microbes this year. I suppose we'll start on calf health here. What were the challenges? What's the focus for calf health on the farm? What are the things you kind of look at?
Well, we try to keep things simple.
Okay.
First off, the cows are done for Rotovac, and then I suppose we're big into transition with the cows. We go in with soya and oats, plenty of minerals before calving to make sure we plenty of colostrum. I think you told me a good few years ago, there's 2 things that drive calf health, is colostrum, space, 3 things, colostrum, space and straw. Yeah. And if you can get them 3 things right, so we try to keep things as simple as possible. The calves, we've actually found, going back to bottle feeding calves over stomach tubing, we found that's made a big difference in
That's interesting. You're going back to bottling now.
Yes.
Even from a time perspective, you're still...
Yes, we find that the second feed back on the teat.
Yeah, okay.
That's the big one we find, is that we can group them far quicker. Actually, you see 4 individual pins over there.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've actually gone away from using them because we found that since we've gone back to bottle feeding the calves, we can group calves far quicker.
And they'll go to suck quicker as well.
Yes, because they've got the teat.
And they learn off each other, actually.
Yes. Yeah. And we would have been big into, I don't know why, for a few years, I was big into stomach tube. And I think I ended up using the individual pins because the calves were a bit slower, a bit fussier then to take the teat. So we found that last winter, or last few years, we've gone back to bottle feeding. Not the basics, as much colostrum as soon as we can. Like it's a non-negotiable, and then good, well ventilated shed, keep them clean. I suppose we started using the microbes this year. We have been using a lot of different bits of powders, and we've tried a lot of products over the years, but I suppose we've been very happy with the microbes. From the point of view is labor efficiency first.
Right.
Is we find that once a day, a lot of powders you have to give them morning and evening, and they're far easier mixed than the other products.
Okay. It mixes well through the milk.
Even
with the long-term feeding, 30 mils a day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, we haven't had huge issues in this farm, but the calves go home to the home farm then at 2 or 3 weeks old. We are getting small bits of scour and things on the home farm. So we're feeding them from probably day 2, the microbes here, till they went home. Hopefully we'll have a pump on the calf feeder this year, so we'll be able to feed on the home farm to the calves. I suppose the biggest thing is my father came down a few days and he couldn't believe the shine on the calves on the microbes. That was the biggest thing. They were healthy, they were vibrant. As I said, the lads loved it because like you'd be above these powders and be little bits of lumps, and then you have to go cleaning the teat buckets and be stuck to everything. Where the microbes, there was none of them issues.
Your daddy was happy with it, so I should be really I should be talking to him. He should do a cameo in here.
He's the calf rearer. Like you seen the calf heifers. Like we're big into animals here. Like the heifers there, all the stock will be nearly always on target weight.
Yeah.
And that starts from good. Like if you don't get a good start in life, with calves, you're wasting your time. You're on the back foot straight away.
You were out putting up wires when I came in, and I walked down to the shed, took the privilege of walking into the cows, and the very first thing I noticed was how quiet the cows were.
Yeah.
They wouldn't move out of my way. And you might see that in robots, but they'll always, with a stranger, come in. So the cows are very quiet, very calm. I think you did mention it there. You love the animals, what you're doing. You're obviously a production business, of course, but there's a big focus on being animal-centered and actually looking after the cows, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like anyone who knows me knows I can't drive a tractor. I'm useless. So we have to be good at something. So I have to be good at stock.
Okay.
So it's cows and grass here. That's everything. Contractors do an awful lot of machinery work, and we spend so much time with the cows. You have to be good at them. Look at different things like collars, the drafting gate, and different things like that makes life an awful lot easier. We're constantly trying to gauge all the information we can. We love the ICBF. We love bringing in information on the animals and constantly trying to fine-tune the stock we have on the farm, trying to constantly get better stock, get more efficient. But at the end of the day, if you can't handle cows and deal with them, you can have the highest EBI in the world, and it's no good to you. Yeah, and it's basics. We don't shout at the cows. We use the backlash to bring them in. We don't beat the horn at them in the quad and different things like that. So it's basic enough kind of stuff.
I know, but it's very important. It's a good message. Okay, I think people who know you and have listened to you before will understand why you won Farmer of the Year in 2022. You're very passionate. I think you do a really, really good job, and you're a great ambassador for farming, for young farmers. Probably not young anymore. You're young to me, right? But if I was looking forward to the future, what's the future going to bring for you? Where does Christopher go? And maybe with the backdrop of a lot of people at the moment I talk about all the challenges, and there's loads of them there. So what's your sort of attitude for the future, bearing in mind that we won't list them all out, but there's all these challenges in farming at the moment?
Sure, look, there is a lot of challenges, but I suppose we're starting to meet them already. I think the biggest thing on farm, like I would have said 3 or 4 years ago, we had a fair simple system. We didn't realise it. You put out loads of nitrogen, well, not loads, but you put out nitrogen, you grew grass, you grazed it. We had an outlet we had no issue with our bull calves, and there was a minimum amount of beef calves on the farm. Where the farm has changed now, it's sex semen. We've eliminated the bull calves, which is brilliant. And now we're trying to add in value into our beef and to our beef calf. Our beef calf is so important now.
Okay.
We really need to produce a good animal for the beef industry. I think it's so important. We can. I think they're the real big issues I see on farms in the short term.
Yeah.
The importance of the calves that's coming off the dairy herd really has to improve. And I think to be fair, farmers I spoke to are really embracing the DBI.
Okay.
And they're I think that's going to see a big impact in the next few years. Look at the clover, the nitrogen usage is definitely, I think in Maine, a lot of farmers and discussion groups are definitely meeting them challenges at the moment. The level of nitrogen is dropping between price, maybe. And
I think people got kind of, in fairness to nitrogen, they got a little bit maybe
lazy.
Yeah,
it was
potentially, and then people realise maybe I don't need as much fertilizer.
No, and I suppose one thing we're lucky here, maybe a lot of slurry stays in the farm, so we've good P's and K's.
Okay.
We've focused a lot on lime in the last few years, so we are getting good nitrogen efficiency. We've reduced our nitrogen bill quite a bit, and we're fierce impressed with clover and what that's done. And we're following the message of Salahead in Tipperary Research Farm. We're definitely seeing the benefits of that.
Good.
Of course, look at, the biggest thing is keep moving the business forward. Hopefully maybe get another second farm or something like that over the next few years. And look, continue enjoying it. That's the biggest thing, Yeah. You have to love it. You have to get up in the morning and love what you're doing.
Even if it's not about loving every minute of it.
No,
there's hard days as well.
And this year was we spoke about the challenges maybe of coughing cows and different things, and maybe the cell count's a bit higher in the farm that we'd like, but you constantly have to keep meeting these challenges and challenges to make it a bit more interesting too. This year has been, it's been probably one of the most challenging years we've had on farm because of the weather.
Yeah.
But
you've got through it.
We've got through it, and we've got through it unscathed. And look, we've had decent fertility results again this year, and we're happy with the condition the cows are in going into the autumn. And we'll set them up and go. Hopefully next year will be a better year. We'll get a bit more milk out of them, So as much as you have your bad days, you always remember there's a good day yet to come, So
it's a great way to end, Christopher. I have to say, I met you a good few times, but a good to spend an hour and a half with you. Maybe Sligo will win in All Ireland as well. You mentioned the underage football.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, as long as we won one before Mayo, that's the most important thing.
Listen, thank you very much for having me down here.
Thanks.
Continued success.
Yeah.
As I said a few times, it's very easy to see why you won Farmer of the Year. Your attitude alone is absolutely super. So thank you.
Thanks, Tommy.
Good man.